Palestinian people suffering right now.
Because of the wall?
This is about, because they're being
and
closed
11
in.
million undocumented immigrants being demonized, criminalized, and completely dehumanized by this fascist regime. Because this is part of an entire fascist program, breeding white nationalism and white supremacy all around this country, and trying to bring a qualitative difference to that. Trying to make it so that we cannot resist, and so that this country is a fascist America consolidated power. And it is beautiful and it is righteous to see every single person out here right now, everyone who is resisting all of these attacks on all of these different groups, especially immigrants. We unite with you and we stand with you. But we gotta come back into the streets. We gotta be in the streets and we gotta stay in the streets.
Once again, the event is going to be on Sunday, September 24th, 2017.
Good, yourself.
Don't record me, though.
Oh my God, you're the guy from the Occupy Wall Street
Type in
videos.
Ocean to Sound.
Me?
Yeah.
You recognize me?
Yeah, I recognize the voice.
Ah, my voice. I didn't say a word.
Are you Israeli?
No, I'm not.
Russian.
Yeah, how's it going?
Я бы не говорю по-русски.
It's okay, я говорю по-русски. But it's amazing, people will recognize me just hearing the voice. Okay.
You're very popular in Tennessee.
Very popular. See?
You're very popular in Tennessee. The Tennesseans love your videos.
Oh, okay. In Tennessee or from Tennessee? I'll give you my card. You will see.
Yeah, you know, they're very...
Have you watched any of my videos?
No, they're very popular. I mean, you got like a lot of people. Like my dad's family told me about it. Like that, like they said, because like I work in journalism and stuff. They said, like if you meet there's this guy, this former Soviet citizen, I want you to meet. And then they're like, what about him? He's like, everybody talks about it. You know,
Really?
He's really cool.
That's news to me. I live in Staten Island right now. Staten Island. Yeah. Yes, that's so cool. I didn't know that. Sheesh, it's the second time that somebody recognized me here today. Sheesh, look at that, exactly.
Yeah,
And I'm hardly...
I thought you were Israeli because you were asking me and
I'm asking you we can talk, I can talk about so many countries, so many different objects, as you know, of course.
Yeah.
It's just you brought up Palestine. Palestine and the world just
That's
makes no sense. Makes no sense. So what did you say your father wanted to meet me and say
No, my
if you
uncle.
ever... your uncle.
Like my uncle was like, oh, if you ever meet this, yeah, you can take the video.
Okay.
If you ever meet this former Soviet citizen guy, I want you to say, you know, like, hi for me. He wanted to meet you. So.
Make him happy.
Yeah, no, I mean, your videos in 2012, like the old ones about Occupy Wall Street.
Right, Occupy Wall Street, that's where it all started. That's
yeah,
right.
No, like I was watching, I'm like, you had Antifa, you had DACA, like all this stuff. I think it was a precursor to now.
Well, now it's like I figured since I got this sort of following,
Yeah.
and like you said, I get recognized. Hey, why not to continue, with countering what all these people are saying? Because I am your opponent, you know that? I am your opponent, you know that?
I don't know why, though.
You don't know why? We can talk about it.
It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense to be an opponent?
No, that we are
Common sense. I mean, common sense.
People at the end of the day, that's how I view it. I try to view it optimistically.
Oh, but listen, the things that they are saying, it was these interviews. I talk to people who are for communism and socialism. How can we find a common cause between someone, who lived this communist dream, again, based on the videos that I watched, when talking to people who advocate for communism and socialism?
I'm not a socialist. I mean, I understand where you're coming from.
Well, you better.
Yeah, I had a family who lived there in Lithuania. They told me all about it.
Lithuania, there you go. I was in Lithuania.
Really?
Yeah, of course. I traveled over there.
Did you meet anybody by the name of Rita?
No, Rita. Rita is such a popular Russian name. Rita. I've known a whole bunch of Ritas.
Yeah. No, she was very, I had a relative who came over from Lithuania and she told me all about communism. Like she told me, like they had a ration system and like this thing called profiteering. And she explained
Black market, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, everybody went to Moscow for it. Like it was really popular.
It's not because popular. There's no choice. Moscow is the only city that was somewhat supplied but the rest of the country.
Really?
Moscow is one of only few, if not the only place that got some imported goods.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why people will literally fly from as far away as Vladivostok, which is, you know, the other side of the
That's
country.
like near Japan.
Exactly. I was born near Vladivostok, by the way.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, they would fly all the way to Moscow just to get something, to get some food, some provisions. It's not that you go over there and they're readily available. It's like
Yeah.
you walk around, then you see a long line.
Yeah.
You don't know what's at the end of the line.
Yeah.
You stay in line because you know there is going to be what we used to call deficit. I mean, literally deficit.
I forgot.
Or scarce, you know, scarce goods. But everything was scarce over there. Money was worthless. I mean, really worthless.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's why they traveled, and at least it's a short schlep from Lithuania
It's not,
to
it's not. It was. I think it was. Told me it was like 6 hours.
Kaunas,
No.
Jurmala. No, Jurmala is not in Lithuania.
It's Vilna, and she told me that like after like the war, like bananas were like the biggest deal ever.
Bananas.
Yeah, and oranges, and she said people used to steal
That's right.
oranges from each other.
Well, actually, bananas is. That's the thing that the Russians remember the most, by the way.
Really?
The one with the first things that you sort of appreciate by coming to America was bananas. I was one of those, yeah.
My grandma was happy about soup.
Well, listen, you never had the experience of living in the country when everything was so precious and so hard to come by. I mean, starting from bread, I mean, proverbial bread, or butter, or I mean, you name it. There was nothing there, empty shelves, or semi-empty shelves.
They were more empty because they had a ration system. The ration system was horrible. It was shit.
No, not exactly a Russian. Russian system was like after the Second World War, when I lived over there was no Russian system per se. What was Russian, though, were the rations they would get from work. So in other words, let's say some goods would be distributed to your place of work.
Okay.
So things that you wouldn't be able to buy ordinarily in the stores, you'll get through your employer. So that's sort of the rationing that was going on over there, especially prior to the New Year. Some kielbasy, you know, sausages, you know, things of that nature.
You get it. I'm not gonna be like one of. I saw the Antifa video from 2012. They're like, no photos.
You can say.
Yeah. No, I know. No, that's fine. I just, you know, like, do you remember it? Like, it's like one of the videos where like the guy, like.
You mean you were there?
No, I wasn't there. It was like one of it was on YouTube, and it was like the guy was like, "You belong in the labor camp," and got all.
Oh yeah.
I feel so bad for you. I'm so sad.
Listen, I was just chuckling inside me. Of course, I mean, do you think you're gonna intimidate me? Listen, I was summoned to Lubyanka headquarters. So if you want to talk about fear, that was the most horrific day in my life. So if I could sort of escape the clutches of KGB, do you think I'm going to be intimidated by the schmuck in America being surrounded by the policemen, protective policemen? I mean, come on. So I'm scared of virtually nothing in this country. I thoroughly enjoy the freedoms. I thoroughly enjoy talking and discussing any topics that I want to, because I can.
I like that too. You know, people, you know, I think, you know, don't understand that. And I agree with you. You know what? Life ain't bad. Life ain't bad. You know, that's how I view it.
Bad what?
No, like people like, oh, life here sucks, and I'm just like, no, it doesn't. You got food. You're not starving. I mean,
we live in the best country in the world. I mean, literally. There's no better place on earth than the United States of America. I mean, think about it. All these people protesting here.
Yeah.
If you don't like America so much, I mean, logically, why did you come here? I came to America because I wanted to come to America.
Yeah.
You know? So if these people are, well, actually, what I'm talking about, I'm talking about their own countries.
Yeah.
I digressed. They want to come to America because they love this country. But if we don't control the immigration, then everybody will come to America, and America will become like their own country. So, you know, when I come to America, I embrace its culture, I embrace its language. I embrace everything American. Otherwise, what's the point of coming to America if not going to embrace a new homeland? Right or wrong?
I have a question, though.
Sure.
What was the Soviet view of America?
An enemy. Well,
What do the people think?
Listen,
like
defining, I would call it in my wording, it would be inferiority complex. So the Russians have the inferiority complex towards America because they would like to be viewed as a superpower.
Okay.
The only reason that gave them sort of superpower prowess was the fact that they had the nuclear arms. That's about it. People were starving, no freedoms. They just had the nukes, and that's what made them superpower. But everybody knew inside the USSR that, wait a minute, Americans are driving nice cars. Americans are not standing in line, on the one hand. On the other hand, they were so thoroughly brainwashed that America is an enemy, that it wants war with Russia, that America is the root cause of all the problems in the USSR. Just like most of the people I spoke with from Honduras and other countries, they're saying that America is the root cause, so-called American imperialism, is the root cause of their evils. That's the way the Russians were thinking. I mean, we don't have bread, we don't have butter, we have all these problems, but we don't have war. You know? So they love everything American on one hand, and yet they hate America at the same time. Typical inferiority complex, because they know they'll never be like America.
That's actually interesting. You know, I like learning about the subject. What was the defining moment, would you say, in wanting to come to America and like being in Russia? Was like, you know, I can't take any of this. Fuck all this. I want to go.
You're asking the wrong person. What I mean by that is that I was completely different than anybody else. The 99.99% of typical Soviet citizens.
Yeah.
I don't remember my younger years, well enough. I remember separate the pictures, not so much connected chronologically to each other. But I remember that I was a little kid, maybe, 6 years old, 7, 8, something like that. I was visiting my grandparents in Belarus.
Yeah.
They were out. And I was trying to listen to the one of those broadcastings that were heavily jammed by the Soviets, like, BBC World Service, Radio Free Europe, and so on and so on. Deutsche Welle, all in Russian language. And through all this heavy jamming, I would get snippets of information. And when my grandparents went back home, I was so happy to share this little news that could get and glean from the broadcastings. They were heavily jammed, knowing, little kid, that you cannot get truthful information from the so-called Soviet mass media.
Yeah. Wasn't it all controlled by one thing, the central...
The party.
Yeah.
The party. Everything belonged to the party. There was kind of sick joke, of course, an American joke, that there were two major newspapers, Izvestia, which means the news, and Pravda, which means the truth. So the joke is there was no, of course, not Russian, you will go to prison if you make this joke over there, but the American joke is that there was no truth in news and there was no news in truth, obviously. Unfortunately, our American mass media has become more like, Pravda and Izvestia in this country.
Yeah.
And that's the saddest thing that we're witnessing over here.
No, it's sad. I mean, I don't believe in violence, and I believe in free speech. But I mean, I just want peace. I just want to, I just want people getting along.
Well, it's wishful thinking.
Hard. It's wishful thinking.
It's wishful thinking.
You can't be one of those people that's like, this is gonna happen. I mean, it's not. I mean, but you know what? I'm just being happy. It's just wishful thinking for me.
Well, you can start with yourself.
Good way to put it. I like that.
Good.
Do you think? Why do you think so many people in America praise the Soviet Union?
Praise the Soviet Union?
Like socialists. Why do you think that? I'm just curious.
Because they have the wrong premise about socialism. They think that the socialism, as taught to them as they fancy socialism is all about the equality. They think that the system that can equalize the people. First of all, equality has never existed and will never ever exist to start with. Okay, deal with it.
Yeah.
Second of all, they think that the inequality is kind of man-made, not natural thing. And third of all, I guess they believe that capitalism doesn't allow them to sort of do nothing and be like everybody else, essentially. But the basic promise is that they forget the lessons of history, that so-called socialism has been tried for 100 years. It failed every single freaking time. In every single country. And not did it fail. I can understand if it were just an innocent experiment. Okay, so we tried, we got this together. We tried, brainwash something. It failed. It didn't work out. Okay, fine. We all went home. Happily or not, or sad, but nothing happened. When we talk about millions, tens of millions, innocent people murdered for the sake of this experiment.
It was sad. It was not right. It was horrible.
I mean,
it was horrible.
When I hear socialism, I want to kill that person. I mean, sometimes even literally, because it's either me or them. Because that's what happened for the past 100 years. Whenever socialists come to power, I mean, right in front of our own eyes, look what's happening in Venezuela. A transition from one of the most developed countries in South America, and all these people are from that part of the world, into the shithole which socialism is.
You ever,
Was that?
You ever heard about what happened in Zimbabwe?
Well, basically the same thing.
Oh, yeah. But except the thing about the Rhodesian front I noticed, I mean, I don't know how the hell they held out for so long. I mean, I'm just like looking at history, I'm just like, how? I mean, I know they had two different communist and socialist parties fighting each other, but they had that one unified thing.
Just because I can't move my voice, I don't want to scream. Do you mind moving a little bit further? Just because I don't want to...
Do you want us to move?
I mean, you should move there.
There's two of you guys and like a lot of us.
Okay. So that's plurality? Yes, okay. That's plurality.
Yeah.
So we gotta move. We're here first, no?
Yeah, no, we will.
So that's what democracy is all about. When the majority rules the minority, and it means they have no rights anymore because there are more of them than there's us.
Yeah,
But anyway, it's
what made you got interested in Occupy Wall Street? What made you think?
It's just an accident. It was purely an accident.
Really?
Yes, I was on the way, some other place. In fact, I was on the way for a political event with the head of the Republican. Who was he? Forgot his name. So I took camera with me in the tow, and I heard a lot of Occupy Wall Street, and I had like an hour to spend. And I stopped by Occupy Wall Street. I saw this poster, abolish capitalism, replace it with socialism. I saw the portrait of Che Guevara. Of course, it made my blood boil. I came up to this, a woman and this young guy over there, and I had like short conversation with them. I never published anything on YouTube before, except maybe one, parrot video, couple of years prior. And as soon as I published this little video, all of a sudden, I mean, literally went viral. I ended up being invited to, Fox News. I got a whole bunch of Fredo interviews, Laura Ingraham, Rusty Humphries, and so on and so on. Glenn Beck mentioned it. Not that I respect him anymore, but a lot of media kind of caught their attention. So I figured, hey, if I got this little outlet, why not continue? So I went there again and again and again. And like you said, these videos, these interactions, for whatever reason, became popular. Yeah. And all I do is just, talk to people, like common sense.
Love it.
That's it.
People love it. One question before I go.
Sure.
I mean, this is a pretty big moment for me because I've heard a lot about the videos and I've watched them. I love them.
Good, thank you.
I mean, I think of myself more as a centrist because I always have personal wishful thinking, but I know, okay, that's crap. My wishful thinking is pure bullshit. I got to live in the real world. So.
Well, I mean, you have a dream, of course. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, it's not about. I mean, to me, it's not about dissing the dreams.
Yeah.
It's like when I was dreaming about America. To me, it was a dream. However, by definition, a dream is something rosy. So when I was living in USSR, I sort of said goodbye to all the cockroaches that I couldn't get rid of in the place where I used to live. I said goodbye to the potholed roads. I said goodbye to, so many things. So here I come to America, a land of opportunities, a land that I dreamt about on the one hand. But then there was a reality check. When they put us the first hotel here, actually first when we got on the bus, and back then there was Van Wyck Expressway, it was all potholed, as well as the Belt Parkway. So American dream was seeing those yellow buses, something that I only see in the movies. Seeing these limousines, something I only see in the movies. But potholes, it was like first reality check. Then they put us up in the hotel. We turned the lights on, and I see cockroaches. So again, it was another reality check. It's not that my dream went away. No, the American dream that I had is here, and I'm happy with it. But the realities of life just crept in, and I sort of, made adjustments. So, like I said, there's nothing wrong in having dreams per se. It's just they have to be checked against reality. That's it.
Yeah, I understand. But now I remember the question. What was the city you were from again?
Moscow.
No, from Moscow?
Yeah, Moscow. Yeah.
Oh. Do you remember radio? They had, you could have gotten, my relative told me that you could have gotten a radio from, West Germany there, and they had, potheads and, hippies in the Soviet Union, but, many of them were, in jail or something.
They would jail anyone for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, but they had, people who listened to the radio in secret, and she told me that it was, a pretty popular thing, and that,
You wouldn't be jailed for that. It depends, of course, the time frame. Under Stalin, you didn't have to do anything to be jailed and murdered. Under Brezhnev, Khrushchev, it got a little better. They wouldn't hold you to prison, literally for nothing. But just listening to the music, you could listen to music. See, the system, this is how the Soviets operated. They tried not to have political prisoners at all. And obviously, it's the political views that scared the government the most. Nothing scared the government more than the political views. So this is what it did. It was virtually impossible to live in the Soviet Union and live relatively well off, not to die from hunger, to have at least some resemblance to decent life without breaking local laws.
Okay.
Normally, government will tolerate it forever, for the life of you. You break the laws, it's kind of built in the system. But when you start getting political, they're not going to put you in the prison for doing political stuff. They find the way to incarcerate you for breaking the laws that everybody else would break. But be quiet. So that's how the system kind of worked against the political dissent. Make sense?
No, that makes sense.
Okay.
It's just really interesting, I have family.
Actually, we can step back so that there'll be less noise over there.
All right, yeah, I have
Works
family
both
who is
ways.
From that area. I had relatives, great aunts, great uncles who came over, and
From Lithuania?
Lithuania, yeah. And they just told me all this information. I always bought it as, true that they did have hippies and they did know some things about the West, but it was illegal.
When did they live there? Because Lithuania is kind of an interesting thing. It was, before 1939.
1939 Nazi. That was I think 50% of the population died. They left in my God, somewhere in the late 50s, early 60s.
50s. So how could they live? Because back then, hardly anyone would be allowed to live for USSR. The only excuse they would give for the people to live in USSR would be for the Jews, because they were traitors, because love for Israel was kind of greater than their allegiance to the Soviet paradise. And some other minorities such as Greeks, Germans, under the pretext, obviously, because no sane person would live in USSR. You're going to be crazy living the socialist paradise.
Yeah.
But because they're traitors, they have relatives over there, under this pretext, they would let them go.
Okay.
For the Jews, it was even worse than that because we were slaves over there. We were slave trade. Golda Meir struck a deal with Brezhnev. They didn't have enough grain, so the United States would supply a certain number of bushels of grain to the Soviets so they wouldn't starve in exchange for a head of a Jewish head allowed to live. Jewish person allowed to live.
They were Jewish, though. They were Jewish.
Well, so, literally slave trade. So they had the hostage trade. The Jews were hostages in the USSR. They needed grain. They let the Jews go in exchange for grain. How do I like that?
I think I could buy it. They never told me how they left, so I would just always assume.
But the 50s is kind of... But they were not Jewish, though, right?
No, they were Jewish, and the reason I say
that's why,
hippies,
because only...
I know hippies were not in the 50s, but I did have, a relative who stayed later, because, he was I don't want to leave, he still... Even though majority of the Jews died in Lithuania, 95% died, they were luckily one of, the 5% that lived.
Yeah.
And, one of them stayed, my great-uncle stayed, and, he said told me all this part, but the 50s part is other relatives.
Yeah, again, like I said...
I only had 3 that survived out of, tons.
Yeah, Jewish.
Yeah.
Well, so just like I said, that's why I was kind of surprised. In the 50s, they would only allow basically these kind of 3 groups, more or less, to immigrate. So when you say Jewish, now it makes sense. So the Jews could kind of sort of live maybe through Poland.
Oh, that's how they left.
Through Poland. See, there
Yeah,
we
they
go.
had like this Aliyah program
See?
where like you could have went to Poland and like the Polish people were like, "Hey, you could go," and then
There you go.
Never understood it, but I bought it.
Ah, okay. So you're luckier than me, because you're what, third generation American.
Yeah.
See, I wish that happens to me. My grandparents actually wanted to emigrate through Poland back then because my step grandmother, she never took Soviet citizenship. She was Auschwitz survivor. My grandfather, my actual grandmother died when she was young, like 28 years old. Well, what can you do? Heart failure. And my grandfather liberated one of those liberators, so he was, near Auschwitz. That's where he met her. She was born in Romania, born in Transylvania, so her mother tongue was Hungarian, but she was Romanian citizen. When it came to USSR, all her relatives after Auschwitz emigrated to Canada, to Argentina, to Israel. She came to USSR because she loved my grandpa. And since she never became a U.S. citizen, citizen of USSR, Soviet citizen, she kind of had you would think, easier way of getting out. But it wasn't easy at all. And one of the way of leaving back then, like in the 50s, was through Poland. It didn't happen because my mother was against it. It's a long story.
It's an interesting story. You're a very interesting person. I really like this, like hearing about it.
Well, that's not what I'm trying to portray in the videos. I'm trying to talk about
sure.
not myself, but the people,
like the people
I
you
talk
meet
to.
and like you show it to like people elsewhere in Tennessee or elsewhere in the world who would never know this would happen.
Well, it's on camera now.
Yeah, you can put it on. It's all good.
I'm talking about my side of the story that I never really shared that much.
No, I think it's good because I believe what like a good thing you've done. You've like showed a lot of people in like areas that would never like have known this. Like they never thought, oh, there's still socialists in America. That there is. And socialism is like wishful thinking. I think of it like candy. Like it's not a bad idea wanting to give people rights, and it just never works.
Well, exactly, and it's a complete fallacy.
No, it's a fail.
From
It fails every time.
start to finish.
No, it failed. It's stupid. Never works.
It never did, never will. Why reinvent the wheel? We have the system that has been working very well for quite some time. Long time.
Yeah, I agree.
It's the system that went through trial and error from, free market with regulations, no regulations, tweaked here and there. But the bottom line, at least in this country, we know what works.
Yeah.
We know what works in Europe. We know what works in New Zealand. We know what works in South Korea. And this is one of those examples, one of those first videos, like when I asked question, what's the difference?
Like, there's no cannibalism in North Korea.
No, she said, what, people eat each other? She was so shocked. Well, yeah.
Really?
Really?
I never forgot that. That was the one my uncle showed me.
Really?
It's so funny. Did she really believe that though?
Why would you say it? She was so shy. She was very genuine. She never heard of it. And it's a simple question. It's a simple example. South Korea and North Korea. Think about it. Everything is the same. There's no better example than East Germany and West Germany, which doesn't exist anymore. But North Korea and South Korea are still there.
Yeah.
So same history, same resources, same everything. Same people, absolutely the same. There's just this line, 30th parallel. And this one line makes a fundamental difference between the North and the South, just because North has duché, whatever they call this stupid Soviet system.
It's fascist, actually.
Fascism, capital. It doesn't really matter.
It's still tyranny.
Think about it. DPRK. What does it stand for?
The Democratic People's Republic of Korea.
Is it democratic?
No.
Is it Republican?
No.
Is it people's? The only letter in this acronym is the K. The only true letter is the K, right? So when we talk about when we speak about definitions, it's just useless. They throw these definitions left and right. It was socialist. It was state capitalism. It was there's one definition that unites them all, which I keep repeating over and over again, and that's totalitarian regimes. All of them, no matter what you call them, DPRK, DDR, or whatever, they're all totalitarian regimes, pure and simple. Dictatorships, worse than Nazism. I get sort of, accused, how can I say that, that Hitler was better than Stalin. Of course, they're on the same scale of evil, but if we take this total, I mean, the paragon of evilness, if I can say, Stalin was still worse than Hitler. Pol Pot was still worse than Hitler. Mao Zedong was still worse than Hitler. For
Because they had longer time to implement.
it's not.
Hitler
It's
only
not
had
even
15
that. No, it's not.
years.
It's not just even less than that. 9 years. But it's not. It's not just that. What makes it fundamentally different is that in Nazi Germany there was a system. There was created a system whereby you're a true believer in Nazism.
Yeah.
When you are a supporter of the system, I mean,
Yeah.
generally, supporter of the system, you're safe. You're safe.
And I hate that. You should feel free to do whatever the fuck you want.
No, it's not that you want to do. It's just you're safe from the wrath of the irrational wrath of the government. Let's say if you're Field Marshal Rommel, for example,
Yeah.
and you are in good standing with Hitler. Of course, he changed his mind, but it's a different story. You're absolutely safe. If you're Marshal Tukhachevsky, who was a true believer in Stalin, it didn't save him. The fact that he was a marshal didn't save him. He was murdered by Stalin. He murdered everybody, left and right. Even the true communists, the true believer in the system, the true believer in Stalin, they were murdered nonetheless. So that's the fundamental difference between the two. And that's why Hitler is slightly better than Stalin in this respect.
See, he killed a lot of my relatives, and Stalin did too. It just, I think they're both evil.
Of
Because
course,
they
of
represent.
course, of course.
But here's why I honestly think Nazism is slightly worse, because they didn't have enough time to implement their full plan. Like, well, if they invaded Russia, none of us would be here today.
Well, they're talking from the Jewish perspective. As a Jew, of course. I mean, I agree with you. However,
Are you Jewish too?
yes, I am.
Yeah.
However, in 1953, there was a doctor's plot. So Stalin was just about to murder or ship the Jews. They were building this housing in the so-called Jewish Autonomous Republic in the middle of nowhere, bordering China area. They were building housing over there to ship everybody from the areas populated by the Jews, which was mostly European part of USSR, to this Asian part, bordering China. So thank God he croaked just in the nick of time. He was no better than Hitler, really.
Yeah.
When we talk about the Jews as well, I mean, he was equal opportunity killer. Really, he would kill everybody, and that's the difference. That's why Nazism is still better in this respect than communism. And again, me Jew saying it.
Yeah, I mean, I find that.
They're both evil. It's just obviously we're talking splitting hairs in a way.
Yeah, I think Hitler's still a bit worse. I mean, they're both evil. I mean, they kill millions of people. I mean, both don't deserve praise.
No, of course not. I was just talking about the level of evilness.
Yeah.
That's it. God forbid, like in this video that I mentioned, this guy, he said, I like Hitler because I made this comment. Sure, I like Hitler, of course. I'm crazy. If you watch this video again, you'll see it.
Wait, who said that?
Well, the guy who was like, said that he was sent me to Gulag.
Oh, that one.
That one, right.
Yeah, I mean, do they really teach Marxist history? I mean, I don't see like a use for it. Like, if you want to get like a skill in the real world, you should get like a good skill. Like, working or manufacturing or something, that benefit you. I don't know how Marxism is going to benefit.
I don't know. Ask them. I'm trying to talk to these people. It's just brainwashed. I guess there's nothing else to do. Or maybe it's sort of the sense of belonging. They found out that, well, this is the group of people of like-minded people. They decided to stick to them for whatever reason. And when they get together, they obviously share the same views. That's when, again, when you see these debates, when they encounter someone who counters their views, well, they either resort to name calling, or they just walk away, or find I was speaking with a guy who was wearing Che Guevara shirt. Everything was cool and dandy. I was asking him questions, what he thinks about the USSR, why he likes Cuba, blah blah blah, until I said that, well, you're telling me life in USSR. I was actually born in USSR. All of a sudden, he said, well, you know what? I'm actually here to support DACA. Bye. I have no time for you.
I mean,
they can't defend their views because they're indefensible. They're really indefensible. Again, like you could see in these videos. But they stick together because, they're just like-minded people. That's to answer a question as to why they study Marxism, Leninism. Well, I I guess that's the reason why. Some people are more rational than others. Some have more common sense than others. Well, I mean, what can I say?
Yeah, what I think honestly about, oh my God, I just lost my train of thought. Actually, no, it was a question.
Sure.
Shift topics. Do you remember the Polish guy from the Occupied Wall Street that said that a Warsaw Pact country was better than like America?
Yes, the one with a huge placard.
Was
Yes,
he actually Polish or was he like fake?
I think he was Polish.
I don't think so, because like I showed it to like my great aunt, and she was like, "No, he's not. No, he can't be. He can't be from that."
He can be, but he is. It's like the Russians. I mean, don't you think that there are a lot of Polacks? They were not brainwashed, or Polish people not brainwashed? Of course they were. There were hardcore communists in Poland. There were people who held position of power. All of a sudden, they became kind of nobody. Many of them actually, like chameleons, they came from political elites to business elite, so they they knew how to switch gears and turn tables. So, but well, I don't know about this one. I think he spoke with Polish accent. I think.
I mean, I find it so hard that he's actually Polish. Like, I understand, position of power. He wants to be in power again. I could understand that. But, like, you meet or talk to a regular Polish person on the street, they will say opposite of everything he said.
Most will, but not
I
all.
think 99.9%.
Today, yes, today.
Today in New York City,
But he wasn't young, mind you. He wasn't young at all.
Really old. I mean,
So-
he had like dementia or something. Like I don't mean as an insult. I'm just saying, like, you have to have dementia to really think shit.
Well, it's a condition. What can you do?
Yeah.
I would say that all those so-called socialist Marxists, they have condition as well, really, because any normal, sane person can't possibly believe in the system, fight for the system, waste time on all this crap, really crap. So it's got to be mental condition.
No, it has to be.
There's no other rational explanation. I can find gazillion irrational explanations, but rationally, other than mental condition, really nothing else can explain it. What do you think?
No, I mean, you're right. I mean, what I think it is, a lot of people grow out of it, like a
Yes.
phase. Like, I mean,
First paycheck.
yeah, first paycheck, they're like, I gotta pay for stuff. Oh no! Oh no! I gotta pay for shit.
Don't love socialism anymore.
Don't have socialism. Gotta get it ruled out. But oh my God, I remembered it. Like, do you think that? How do you think how do you think they do for a day in the Soviet Union? Like, if they were in the Soviet Union, how do you think they'd be? Like,
It's a good question.